they shooting these boats with? Are these drones or some other kind of military hardware?
They're not going to tell us because it's still an active operation, and that's why you don't hear any real details. The intel sources are still active. It looks to me a lot like what you're seeing is kind of an infrared white hot designation. So there's obviously a missile. It could be, for example, Hellfire, but it could be any one of a number of other types of missiles as well. What we do know is they're extremely precise. And, Joe, we track the movement of these boats, our military. Our military watches a lot of ships. We watch Russia in the Baltics. We watch China in the Pacific. And we can watch the Venezuelan. They see when the cargo gets to the dock. They see when the crew pulls up to the pier. And these boats use long established routes. That's why we have such precise intelligence and are carrying out these strikes in international waters.
Well, that's fascinating. So we can see them presumably loading the drugs on the boat, which gives the administration or the Pentagon the confidence that it has that these are, in fact, drug smugglers?
Oh, absolutely. This is technology that was developed to track, the Soviets and the Russians and the Chinese.
Yeah.
But our maritime surveillance is excellent. It's exquisite. So you shift it over to the drug boats, number of different resources, drones, satellites, patrol aircraft, everything is all set. Maritime sensors are kind of a different group, and they're all tuned to do this. And yes, you could just see everything. So that's why the administration and Secretary Rubio especially is so confident that they know they are striking drug boats for sure. And of course, Venezuela is directly tied to it.
All right, Cece's showing us now the unclassified footage here on YouTube of this thing blowing up. Cece's got all kinds of video, Doctor. It's kind of amazing. What we're looking at right now, is that from a satellite or is that from a drone or an aircraft at high altitude?
Any of the above. It's hard. It's deliberately difficult to tell, but aircraft, drones all have this, there's a lot of systems. All the ones you named have the ability to give some pretty good resolution stuff. Or it could be indeed a targeting pod also showing that.
Sure, got
it. So anytime a
Wow.
target's attacked, they've really carefully considered the weapons parameters and made sure there's not another boat nearby or any chance for unintended collateral damage.
Okay, got it. This idea of us flying B-1s around, we had reported as well that we had B-52s flying nearby Venezuela. Is this just, if true, the president says we weren't flying B-1s. I don't know if you have a take on that, Doctor, but what would be the point of this? It's not reconnaissance. Is it just a projection of power?
Oh, well, and the B-52s do have, again, an excellent overwater reconnaissance capability to go out and find and target ships. That's where the B-1, that BONE acronym, it stands for B-O-N-E, BONE, B-1. The museums call it the Lancer, but the crews call it the BONE. And remember, it did a lot of this work in Afghanistan, sometimes doing just a low pass. If a B-1 flies over you at 2,000 feet, as they often did in Afghanistan, that'll scare the living daylights out of you. But we're really trying to show power projection to Venezuela and to Venezuela's friends, the Russians, of course.
I'm guessing it seems like it's within the realm of possibility that we were flying B-1s over there. Dr. Grant, I want to ask you about what's happening in Russia as well. As the president heads to Asia, there are a number of hotspots that he needs to worry about that may play into some of the talks he's having with President Xi, assuming that meeting takes place. Vladimir Putin today says it's time to call up the reserves. They need thousands more troops, not to go into Ukraine to do shooting, but to stay in Russia to deal with attacks from Ukrainian drones. This happening at the same time that Volodymyr Zelensky is asking for Tomahawk cruise missiles. What do you make of Russia's posture in this war right now?
Well, inside Putin's head, he is really worried about those Tomahawks. President Trump hasn't given permission yet, but if they decided to send Tomahawks to Ukraine, they can be put on an Air Force C-17 cargo plane, and they can be there in about 24 hours. The Tomahawks and Ukraine's drone attacks present an almost insoluble problem for Putin of trying to defend air bases, There are 60 Russian air bases within Tomahawk range from Ukraine, and also to defend that oil and gas pipeline and energy infrastructure targets, a lot of it out in remote areas. They literally cannot put air defenses around every potential drone or Tomahawk target. And so we're seeing this partial Russian mobilization to try to beef up air defenses. Remember, Ukraine has very successfully hit some Russian bombers and warplanes on the ground with drone attacks, as well as really schwacking the energy infrastructure in the last couple of months.
I know that they're getting some cruise missiles from European partners, but if in fact Volodymyr Zelensky got the Tomahawks he was looking for, what would that mean for the trajectory of the war? And is Donald Trump right that we only have enough, maybe for ourselves?
Tactically, Tomahawks would let Ukraine attack Russian energy infrastructure, the goal there being to push Putin to the table. We have a lot of Tomahawks. We've just sold some to the Japanese and to the Netherlands. And don't forget, the Army has some new hypersonic missiles like Dark Eagle coming along. We have the SM-6. We got plenty of missiles. There are enough there. So Trump doesn't have to decide right away. The goal of all of this, of course, is with the economic and the oil sanctions and military pressure from Ukraine on legit Russian targets to try to push Putin to at least agree to a ceasefire.
I do find it interesting that we're hearing from Maduro now that they have 5,000 surface-to-air missiles that are ready for us. And I mentioned this, Dr. Grant, with a breaking story that just dropped here from Sean Parnell at the Pentagon. You may have known this was coming because I know you have great sources in the DOD. In support of the president's directive, it says to dismantle transnational criminal organizations and counter narco terror. The Secretary of War has directed that the Jerry Ford Carrier Strike Group and Embarked Carrier Air Wing to the U.S. Southern Command area of responsibility. We're sending a carrier strike group down to the Caribbean. What does that tell us about what happens next?
And the Gerald R. Ford is our newest aircraft carrier. They've just been in Europe. It's another fantastic use of aircraft carriers by President Trump. That means that they can have the most sophisticated aircraft there. And hey, you saw what aircraft carriers participated in hitting the Houthis in the Red Sea area. And I think Maduro needs to be very worried. Hey, don't forget, Secretary Rubio has a $50 million bounty on Maduro's head following an indictment by the Southern District of New York. I'm delighted to see the aircraft carrier Ford down there and really showing American presence in the Western Hemisphere.
Well, is that it, though? Why are you delighted? Is it a projection, once again, of force, or are we going to use this thing?
Oh, all of the above, right? It greatly extends the options. But I think what the administration wants to see is they want these drug boats to stop making these drug runs. And the Ford is going to give them a much greater ability to do overwater surveillance. They can intensify the attacks if they want to. That's plenty of shooters in the area. Or maybe Maduro will come to his senses. The Ford can strike. It can carry out presence. Excellent platform for this.